Hi guys, welcome back to another video. This weekend it is round 6 of the Super Rugby Championship and we're back to 7 matches. This makes me very happy. I have to say the last 2 weeks with only 6 games a weekend, like I felt cheated. It's like when you buy a hamburger and chips but you don't get a soda. But anyway, let's get to the predictions. It's round 6. Let's go! Okay, so if you're wondering why I'm not on a random beach again today, it's because of the wind. Man, it's a coastal city. There's nothing I can do about the wind, so I have to do this in my house, unfortunately. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to do the predictions, and then afterwards, I want to share something with you that's actually been bothering me since the World Cup last year. So bear with me through the predictions real quick, and I'll talk to you about something that I've got on my heart, Okay, the first game is the Sunwolves against the Brumbies. So all the Sunwolves games moved to Australia now because of the coronavirus, which is turning into a serious matter actually. So for the first time ever this weekend, we'll have 2 games on the same stadium on the same weekend. It is the first game, it is the Sunwolves against the Brumbies, and then game 3. Not game 3. The game on Saturday, the Chiefs against the Waratahs. Okay, so the Brumbies against the Sunwolves. Again, a good chance for the Brumbies to rest their players on this one. I'm definitely going Brumbies, but I cannot figure out which margin to go. So if I go 10, 15, 20, is it going to be too little? If I go 15, I don't think they'll be annihilated like that again. Also, I think the Sunwolves need to put in Garth April. He's much better than the fly-off they played last weekend. And again, I said it last weekend, they need to try and keep possession and string phases together, keep the ball out of the opposition's hands, and maybe they'll have a better chance. But I honestly can't see the Sunwolves winning this one. Before I give my prediction, let's just have a look at this stadium I'm talking about. So they're playing on Wynn Stadium, that is in Wollongong. I've never even heard of this stadium. It takes 23,000 people. I have to say it looks like a sort of a school stadium just with a nice grandstand, and it's right next to the beach. So if the game is boring or the Brumbies is leading by 50 points at halftime, I would rather go for a swim. Okay, so that's the stadium. My prediction on this is I'm going to say Brumbies, and I'm saying by 23 points. So game 2 on Friday is the Reds against the Crusaders. They're playing at Orange Theory Stadium in Christchurch, so the Crusaders' home ground. Again, I cannot see the Reds winning this one. They were poor against the Sharks last week, to say the least. I did expect more from them last weekend. I'm going Crusaders with this one. Crusaders, they're putting themselves in a good position to make playoffs this year, and I had no doubt from the beginning of the season that they'll make playoffs anyway. But I'm sure they're definitely going to the playoffs. I'm going to say Crusaders by 15. They're not playing as smoothly as they hoped to play. There's still some small niggles in the game, but they had a bye last weekend, so hopefully they sorted most of that out. So the Chiefs playing the Waratahs at Wynn Stadium again, so the same stadium as the Sunwolves game. Waratahs managed to win. Give them a hand of applause. So at least they got their first win of the season. Chiefs had a bye last weekend, and I have to admit, looking at the history of these 2 teams, it was quite a surprise. You see, the Waratahs won 6 out of the last 10 games against the Chiefs, and even the 4 games that the Chiefs won wasn't in Australia. It was all in New Zealand. So in the last 10 games between these 2 teams, the Chiefs have never won out of New Zealand. And this weekend they're playing in Australia. So that was quite interesting for me. Nonetheless, if I go with pure gut and common sense, the Chiefs at the moment looks to be the better side. So I'm still going Chiefs by 12. So that's it for the Friday games. For those of you who are mostly following the Australian games, you're going to have a boring Saturday because there's no Australian games on Saturday, no teams playing, so only Friday. So I feel sorry for you, man. But the other games is exciting as well. So this brings us to question of the day. So my question for you is, if you could play on any stadium in the world, which stadium would it be? For me, I would like to go up to the Northern Hemisphere. I've never been there, and I would go with Twickenham. Not that I'm a major fan of English rugby. I just would like to see the history inside the stadium, actually. That's where rugby began, and, it's just, I think it'll be awesome to actually be on Twickenham, never mind to play there. Also, my second choice would be Millennium Stadium in Cardiff. Comment below which would be your stadium to play on, and if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. So game 4 of the weekend is the Hurricanes against the Blues. So the Blues are back in New Zealand after their marvelous win against the Stormers last week. I have to say, because of the Blues, we've got no undefeated teams in the tournament anymore, so well done, Blues. Also, the Stormers' defense was really, really bad, 33% tackles missed. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about the Stormers. They have a bye this weekend. Blues against the Hurricanes. Hurricanes beat the Sunwolves last week very convincingly. I don't want to analyze that too much. They were always going to win. I just didn't think it's going to be by that much. They played very well. Asu, Laumape, very, very awesome. Those guys are unbreakable. Also, the Canes only lost their first game of the tournament, so they're in very good shape at the moment. They're on form, and I think they're peaking when it matters in this tournament, because now is the time you actually set yourself up, to make the playoffs. So for this game, it's going to be a good game if the Blues comes out with that same intent again. But I'm going Hurricanes by 8 points. Rebels against the Lions. So they're playing at Amy Park Stadium in Melbourne. Both teams are struggling a bit this season. The Rebels had a fantastic win over the Highlanders last week. In Dunedin, I don't think anyone guessed that win, really. So if you did, well done to you. I don't know if you're just bloody good or pure luck. Maybe you're like a hardcore Rebels fan. I don't know. But anyway, so the Rebels did very well against the Highlanders last week. The Lions only won one game so far this season, and that was against the Reds, and they only won with 7 points, in round 2. So not even a convincing win. So it's going to be a tough game. Also looking at the stats again, very interesting. The Lions won the last 5 games against the Rebels. It doesn't matter if it was on Amy Park or it was on Ellis Park. So the Lions definitely has got the history stats behind them. But the Rebels just looks like they're picking up their game at the moment, and the Lions are definitely struggling. I'm going Rebels by 5. Game 6 is the Sharks versus the Jaguares, and the Sharks back home after their quite successful tour, really. They only lost 1 game on the road. That's very good, and now they're back home for the remainder of the season. So they again, all set up for playoffs. They should make it quite convincingly, actually. Jaguares last weekend played against the Bulls on Loftus. Were successful there. You know what? Even though the Bulls are struggling this year, it's never easy to win them on Loftus. Let me tell you that. I've been there once where the Sharks beat them, but it doesn't happen often, actually, that you beat them on Loftus. Anyway, so the Jaguares playing well this season. I still feel like they lack a bit of intensity. They can be better. Same with the Sharks, actually. A lot of handling errors, discipline not very good. I will definitely be at the stadium. So obviously I'm not going to go against my own team while I'm at the stadium. You need to understand that. I'm going Sharks by 10 on this one. Guys, right before I do the 7th and final game of the weekend, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and give this video a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. So the 7th and final game is the Bulls against the Highlanders on Loftus. So Highlanders would definitely want to make up after they lost last week on their own home ground, and Bulls lost against the Jaguares on Loftus as well. Both teams would be very desperate because the Bulls haven't won a single game yet, and the Highlanders only won one game with 1 point against the Brumbies. So it's not, they're not on like top form either, you know. So this is going to be, although it's like lower teams on the log, this is going to actually be a very entertaining one to watch. I'm not a big Bulls fan, but I want to do a shout out to the crowd and say, just get out there, support the guys. They need your support. Week after week, I can see the stadium is getting emptier. I understand that, but just go out there this weekend and support the guys. Okay, so, look, Bulls doesn't look good so far. They lost a lot of players. I'm not going to make excuses because it's already round 6. You know, they should have patched up their mistakes by now. And Islanders are not playing badly. Let me tell you that. They're just struggling to round off. You know, so they can definitely play a bit better. But anyway, for this game, I'm going Highlanders by 10. Okay, guys, now with the predictions out the way, I need to talk to you what I mentioned at the start of this video. Okay, so since the World Cup last year, I picked up that whenever South Africa is defending, like because they're doing the rush defense, you always get the wingers going for the outside centers, right? So not the only way, but the easiest way to beat not only the Springboks, but any South African team, because this problem carried over to the Super Rugby, is to get the ball out wide, get to the wingers, do a cross kick or do a skip pass from the outside center, or from the inside center rather, to the winger, or because of the rush defense, put through a little grubber kick or chip kick over the top, but behind the centers. You know, Hurricanes is the only team so far that actually did it against the Sharks, and they won like 38 points to 24. And I'm telling you now, like most of the teams are very physical up front. You're not going to get gaps around the fringes of the ruck. It's not going to happen. The only way through, and I analyzed this game after game, doesn't matter who's playing, any South African team, I'm telling you now, if you need to win, it's on the wingers. I hope someone's listening. Let's see this weekend. If you're watching all the games, watch the South African games. You'll see exactly what I mean. If you're still watching, obviously, hit the thumbs up. I really appreciate you, and I'll talk to you on my next video. Cheers.